Give us an update here, specifically on the troop movement here, because a few months ago, we were talking about reducing the U.S. presence in Iraq and the Middle East.
Right, and I think we have even updated numbers from what you were showing on the screen there. We believe the U.S., the 82nd Airborne, is starting to deploy about 2,800 troops today to join about 750 who were sent earlier this week. So that's a total of about 3,500 U.S. troops from the 82nd Airborne heading to Kuwait to bolster the overall U.S. footprint in the Middle East. Interestingly, as even though President Trump has long called for an end to U.S. involvement in some of these Middle East wars and his desire to bring troops home, he has sent with these forces, I think, more than 17,000 U.S. troops to the Middle East just since May alone, largely to deal with the Iranian threat following those attacks on oil tankers and Saudi Aramco facilities earlier this year. So a pretty significant ramp-up of U.S. forces in the region. There are expectations that there will be some sort of a reprisal attack from Iran, although a lot of analysts who follow the Islamic Republic closely said it's a kind of response that might come in weeks or months, not necessarily in the immediate aftermath of yesterday's strike.
Bill, just real quick here, we know that there's been tension rising with Iraqi officials and the U.S. troops, or at least the presence of them. What is the response likely or has been on the part of Iraq to the increase in troops on the ground by the U.S.?
Well, you've seen, earlier this year, earlier last year in May and June, you saw the attacks on some of the oil tankers in the Persian Gulf region. I think a lot of people who look at this now say one response is likely to be some sort of a cyber attack, but there are a large number of U.S. military and civilian installations across the Middle East. We're talking about more than 36 military outposts, for instance, that could be likely targets. You have a range of American embassies everywhere from Lebanon to Saudi Arabia that would also be presumably under threat. So there are a lot of regional targets that Iran could look at beyond considering attacks launched inside the United States.